Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Oh. So really all I'm doing today is taking questions. So if you have questions on stocks or whatever you want to go over, just throw them out there and we'll just start plowing through them all. I can go through all my recently stuff that I was recently viewing. But how are you, buddy? So I'm not sure of the turnout on a Sunday night, but we'll see how this goes. And hopefully it goes fairly well and we can keep doing them on Sundays. So, not everybody can do it because of their work schedule and everything else. But this at least gives everybody, some feedback on what they want to, just give an idea and understanding if they have questions, process questions. Hey, Swing Monkey, happy Father's Day. Hey, Nate. Hey, Bamsi. What's going on? So let's get into it. Just start throwing out names and what you want to go over. Happy Father's Day. And let's just start going over whatever you want to go over. One of the things that I think you really have to watch is just this can bounce. Let me get rid of this. But this can bounce. This is the XLF. You can bounce, but this trade on Friday, you can just see this volume here and how we're setting up. I mean, that's a lot of volume. And if you look here at the Bollinger Bands, look, I mean, we're completely out. For us to be completely out of an index is pretty insane. It doesn't mean that you can't go down more. It's just that strong of a move. What you're going to want to see is, I think you could bounce back up into this, but then you're going to wind up coming back down again, much like you just saw with, Bitcoin just did that move where it bounced back up. So just keep that in mind. So let's do Happy Father's Day, Stefan. All right. So let's just get right into it. And hey, Donnie. Hey, John. So let's just start with Roku and we'll go from there. So Roku essentially pulled the flim flam. I tried to get in there and then I had a great day and then it just came in on that YouTube news. Now it's at a cross, right? And let me just show you the cross so you can see it. See this line right here? So let's put that back, right? Okay. So you're at a cross essentially, and I can actually pull that down just a little bit to here. There we go. Okay. So breaking this, and then here's your upper one. And then what you did here, get rid of these indicators, is you formed a morning star pattern, right? See how you broke down here, and then you have this little wick, and then you broke right above it. That usually counts. When you break above this, like the trade really was getting above that 346.12. Once you do that, you start the pattern, right? So that should take you to that 363 level. It took you the whole way up to 368, and then it stopped. So the question is why there? Why are we stopping there? Well, it's that pattern to that top is complete. But if you look at that line growing across the board, this is where we stopped a couple times before. And you can see how it became support here and then it flipped to resistance here, right? So I would watch this area very closely. If I was fortunate enough to be in that trade, I'd have my stop set pretty high on this one. I don't know that I'd be using that whole bar, and we can get rid of these now. I don't know that I'd be using that whole bar here, this to here as my stop. I think I'd be a little cautious, but you are basing. So your 8-day is going to be right there. Your 5-day is going to be right there. So when you're basing, you really can't even use those. So you're just going to have to really watch it and check the action out on that level, because if you don't get through this, this is just going to be a nasty day down, very similar to what we had before. So I definitely wouldn't chase it. If it breaks out, maybe you can look at it, but not until. So I hope that's helpful. So we'll do AMC. All right, let's just keep trying to stay in the line. And then we do Wish and Torch if you guys want to go through them. So AMC. So, I thought you might have seen more action on AMC, but you didn't. Now, this is setting up for a move. I mean, it's really hard to explain. It's really hard to say that, right? But it is. I mean, this is setting up. This is setting up for a decent move. You you came back down. Here's your line, just so we're all clear. This is your breakout on this. Okay, this was your breakout. This level right here. You never got below it ever. Like you got below it for a couple seconds and then you ran right back up. You never tested it here. And all these lows are doing are stepping you up. Every single one of these lows that comes back down and then runs, comes back down and runs, all they're giving you pivot points on where if you break, you're going to go lower, but they're not breaking. So, and now I have this wedge on this flag that's formed that is clearly setting us up for a higher move. So again, I would be cautious. My wick was here, 63.83. Get a close above that, and you could see a lot of movement in this. Obviously, your high right now is going to be here, but here, look at this. That's your weekly. I mean, it's absolutely insane. So this can definitely go higher. There's no question about it. And it's starting to see way more action in it than what you're seeing in GameStop. So I think people are playing this one more now than GameStop. So let's just keep going. Let's do, we can do NVIDIA. Hey, Len. Let me just see. That's AMC. Twilio. Let's do Twilio. So on Twilio, what we're seeing is this is kind of setting up, but not really. Here, get rid of these. And let's look at this for a minute. And this is Twilio, everyone. So this is really what we're seeing happen here. See this line? Okay. We ran right to it and rejected. I mean, that's what's happening. This was really, frankly, this is on my short list of stocks I was looking at because I like when the 21 crosses up over the 200 and then pushes them all up and my volume was increasing. I like it, but I ran right into resistance and I ran right into resistance in a market that's not really that strong. So I'm going to watch how this plays out. My belief is that I do think tech is going to continue and that this will break out, but I'm just sitting right on this level. So I would need to break this level, this 347.49 level. See it over here. I would need to break that before I would consider adding to it. And you could see how it clearly rejected there. So that's my thought on that. Hey, Len, happy Father's Day. Happy Sunday, Tracy. Let's do NVIDIA. So here's the thing with NVIDIA. So I'm just kind of curious about this, right? If you saw this trade, would you be a buyer of it, right? I'm kind of curious what people think, to be honest with you, comment on it, because if I saw this was what I would like about it. I would like that I'm above this upper trend line. Doesn't matter what it is, right? For those that follow along in the newsletter, you already know that we're in this, but we ran up here and then this bar opens, runs, goes through the open and closes at the low. So this is really a pattern where you have an evening star. You have the left-hand side of the evening star. If you break this, you're going to head to this line. If you break this line, you need to be out of it. Hands down, you would need to be out of the trade very, very clearly. So just keep that in mind. Would I buy it here? Absolutely not. This is a clear sign that we could be topping. Could it reverse and go through it? Could this whole sellout just be because of Friday? Sure. But I'm not buying that by action that I've seen in some of the other underlying markets. So let's just keep going. Yeah, of course, Bo. So I don't know. Yeah, Jen, I mean, I think that we could see a pullback. I think that you're setting up for one. Buy the dip at ET or SBLK. Well, let's just go through them. So ET, no, I wouldn't go near this. So I would not be a buyer of this. So anything with a long red nasty down bar, I wouldn't be a buyer. And here's the other thing that I would look at with ET, Jen. See how your green is higher than your red? Look how that's all I got out of that. So that's how many people are selling to whoever's buying here, right? This is what happens when we sold. This is what happened when we bought. It could be setting up if you get above this. I don't know this one in particularly. Just if this pays a yield, it'll hold in. It'll hold in longer. But let's just keep going through. And what was the other one? SBLK. So SBLK, what we're seeing is 2290, 2450. I don't see any reason to get involved with this. But look, this is a bulk carrier, right? So it depends on what they're carrying. Okay. So I don't know their business. So if you're looking from a fundamental standpoint, it depends on what they're carrying. If they're carrying oil and things along those lines, no. Bulk carriers usually are more specific. They're carrying goods. Now, if I'm carrying goods, I might be okay. If I'm carrying lumber and things along those lines, maybe not so much. So it really depends on their business. But looking at this chart wise, I can get rid of all of this and just show you this really quickly. We can get rid of this too, right? We can get rid of these indicators. I can actually clean this whole chart up. Hold on. Let's just get rid of everything so you can see what I'm talking about. Rallied, right? And rolled. And then you have this line right here. Okay. Let's just draw that. So cut through it, held it here, rallied. We're sitting right on that line again, right? If you break this line, you're going to wind up going lower. Even though that you have these lines here, you're going to wind up at least going to the 50-day. So it depends on you and how long you're trying to stay in this trade. Things that reverse like this, and this is like a classic double top reversal. It's the exact opposite of when you see like a double bottom reversal. See how you are, or double top, I should say. See how you are here and this is your high. See how you break that and then fail, right? And then all of a sudden on that break, all your volume goes away. This is usually a double top, and it's confirmed by taking this out, 18. So I would hold off on it. That's just my opinion right now. If I miss you, just throw it back out there. So which stock? So I do want to get into any type of process talk as well that you want to get into, but was what an inverse hammer. Give me a stock and a symbol. Tracy, we want Globe and FVRR. And BFAM. So let me do BFAM and try and stay in line with the link right now. BFAM. So BFAM, this is really where you're at. Going across here, you broke out very nicely and you're above the 50-day. I like this if you can get up to this level, but you really can't do anything to get 158. I mean, this is probably a really interesting one to look at volume profile with. Hold on one second. Just by looking at it, it should be setting up kind of nicely there. Yeah, that's interesting. So you have a little gap here. So, and you can usually tell that you're going to have a gap in your volume price chart by here. Let's get rid of these so we can look at this a little clearer. You see when you have like a long red bar, right? These long red bars that you climb up, there's usually not a tremendous amount of volume in there because they didn't last very long. So they're easier for you to go up if there's nothing else there. And you can see that there's nothing else there. So then if you throw this in, you can see where that takes you to, right? It takes you basically to where the volume price VWAP is. And it also takes you to the 200-day. So 157, 158, this could get to fairly easy if you're looking for a trade out of it. I think that there's a trade there. Sure. So that's in reference to NVIDIA. Oh yeah, that's an inverse hammer. Yeah. In reference to NVIDIA. Yes. 100%. And I'll go through that again because I want to talk some process and just not Q&A or just not stocks. But yeah, that 100% is an inverse hammer. I mean, that's like the definition of it, right? You open, you go all the way up, you come down and you close at the low. I mean, if I was to write a book on technical analysis, that would be the picture I use to describe an inverse hammer. So yes, 100%. Hey, Tom. That's great. Welcome. So let's just come on in and we just kind of talk and go from there. And hopefully you'll learn something or get something answered. Shop, VAMC. Yeah, let's do it. So I really like Shop. And, I don't know who's getting the news, but when I'm in the YouTube, just so we're clear, I don't know who's getting, I know some of the names, but I don't know everybody that's getting the newsletter and who's not. But this was in our newsletter. And let me just go through this, and I can just move this down to here. And I'll put this right here. See how this volume's increasing? So, and I don't need this right now. Hold on 1 second. Let's get rid of this. I'll just do it this way so I can stay on here for when I do need it. Okay, great. So we're just going to get rid of all the indicators right now and just look at price and what we're seeing, right? So here you are, this 1463 level is what we needed to break in order to stay above. And where did we close? It's a $1,400 stock. So essentially you close there. Now this is a much better close than we had on the video. And it shows that this online business it's setting up to move. Now, I think you're going to wind up going to the top of this channel again, but it's going to take time. This grinds. It grinds like this. You do get these big bars and these big moves in it because people, especially after you base in this name for a long period of time, and we've been basing in this. I can argue that we've been basing in this since May, right? Because this is when the bottom of the base started. So you could make that argument. Now, with that said, that gives me a year base on this name, and this is the range that I'm in. That gives me a higher degree of probability of even breaking out of this channel. So I think this has massive, massive potential and can really run. So I'm in this. I like the name a lot, and I'll just keep moving my stop up. You're going to have to ask yourself some questions if we do see a tech sell-off, and you're going to have to say how much of your gain, if you're not in this already, how much of your gain are you willing to give up? The 5-day, the 8-day. I mean, that's really what you're going to have to start trying to figure out for yourself, right? For me, I don't really want to try and keep buying and selling this. So I'm just going to use because the ranges are too great on it, right? So I can just consider using my cost as my stop. Now, if I was in on the options, the first sign of weakness, I would be out if I was in on the options. So in other words, if I was in on the options, I would use this, right? This level, this 1434 level, and I would get out of it from that perspective. That would be my stop on the options, because I wouldn't want to give up the move to the downside on the options because you're going to lose all that premium. So I hope that makes sense. So if I miss you, because we're getting more people, if I miss you, please throw it back out there again. So thank you. Oh, thanks, Tom. I appreciate that. I would like analysis on CLF. All right, Tom, let's knock it out. Let's get it done. So Cleveland Cliffs, right? So what we're saying, let's get rid of these moving averages for a moment, and let's just run it. We got way too much stuff on here. So let's get rid of everything. Everyone will remember this is Cleveland Cliffs, and let's just take a look at what we have going on here. So you have a range, right? We should be able to see this range. So, and I can just show it right here pretty clearly, right? We can see that, and we can kind of see that if we clone these lines, and we like to clone them because that shows us the same trajectory. I mean, kind of see how that fits in there perfectly, right? So when you look at the channel like that, what's it telling you? It's telling you that you're near the bottom of the channel, which if you follow that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, it's worked. My concern is just, the industry, and that it's somewhat commodity based and what you see going on in commodities, but price is price, and we have to respect charts, right? So if I did not own this is a very, very simple trade for me. I'm not really staying below the 50-day if I'm on this line, right? So whenever I'm at this line and the 50-day is riding this lower trend line, I'm holding it. See, I'm holding it here. I'm holding it here. And I'm breaking it more and more as I'm away from the lower trend line. So if I was to close below this lower trend line and the 50-day at this point, that would be a sell signal for me. If I was long this, I would not buy this until I saw this. And you could look at this on the hourly too. But until I saw us break that wedge up And then I would simply be looking for a trade to the 25 range because we're range bound. We're in this range. I mean, and that's the kind of market that you're in now. Everybody's trying to trade a breakout market. And let me get this point across. Everybody's trying to trade a breakout market. You're not in a breakout market. You're in a range bound market. And what you need to do is be trading between support and resistance lines. And that's kind of the point that I'm trying to hammer home and get through to people. Let's just keep going. Yeah, a lot of steel stocks, they're going to have issues. So there we are. Thank you, Tracy. So let's get rid of all these indicators for a moment and just look at what's going on. So here's your downward trend line, right? You're bouncing here. You broke. Now you're running into this again. 229.68. I've been watching this. I like the action and I like where you are in the channel. When you see a base like this, one of the things that you can use is you can use hold on one second. Let's get the indicators out there. You can use your RSI, right? And we know that the RSI will give us an indication of, and let's get rid of all this stuff now that we've already looked at it so that we can clean this up a little bit. The RSI will give us an indication on which way we're going, right? And if it should continue, maybe it can give us some leeway. And I think that there's some things here that are telling you that we're probably going to break that level that we just talked about. And I can point them out a little bit. So maybe you can use them in the future for other ideas. You see how you're lower here on the RSI and you're higher over here on the RSI, right? And the charts like this, but are trends like this, right? See how this is going like this, but this line, and let me just make this line even more clear. So we'll make it the same color, right? And we'll make it like this. So you can see what I'm talking about, right? So you have this downward trend, but this is going upward. That's a positive divergence. So when you see these, especially on daily charts, the probability of you breaking through to this level is greater than not. So I like this trade a lot. It's been one I've been watching. Very interesting business. I don't think they're going anywhere but up. But fundamentally, but you have to watch I have to watch the charts. That's how I trade. But I like it. I like it a lot. Globe's on my short list. So I like Globe. And so here's your data on Globe, right? And hold on one second here. But here's your data on Globe. And here's what I like about it. See how you have this line right here? Okay. You have this information, right? But it's very hard to use that level of information when you only have 30 days. So what I like to do with these kinds of charts, when you only have that much data, is go to an hourly and see what's going on. So when I went to an hourly, I could find a lot more data that could answer this question on what I want to do with this. So I like this. I like how it's breaking out. And there's one thing that I love seeing. See all this volume? And then you have all this selling, but all this volume. All these people that bought here, they're not selling anymore. See how I'm riding this line? So that's telling me what? That's telling me that everybody that's in here is not selling, or they already sold and they're out, right? And look at all these wicks. So for the people that watch that candlestick video, you can remember wicks or price rejection, and look how it's rejecting price there over and over again, right? And this is getting tighter and tighter. So I think if you break this level here, you could head up to this 57 level. And I have this on my short list for people that watch that video. And you can see that, but I think that this is setting up. And I think that the other thing that I liked about this was, see how this line is here, this line's here. See how right way to say this, the angle is getting greater as you get longer into the chart, or shorter into the chart, but shorter into the time frame, right? So as time moves on, the trajectory is going higher and higher. That usually leads to a higher move. So I like that a lot. And let's just go. Then we have DMTK and Square and Ford. And then we'll do Docu. Remind me on Docu if I forget, because I want to go over that. So where was I? Let's do DMTK, Square, and Ford. So DMTK, that's the hourly, which is kind of interesting, but let's do the daily. So this is the kind of stock that can work in a market like this because it's independent of a lot of what's going on out there right now. Where a lot of these are tied together with indexes, this one's not really. It actually fits into healthcare if you want to get super technical, but you need that 45.50 line, but you're setting up for it. You're definitely setting up for it. So you need to get above 45.50, but you're setting up here. Look at this. You should be able, well, maybe you can't see this, but no, we're going to have to change that, aren't we? There we go. So see how you're hitting these, and we can actually make that here. And you're actually through that. So the chance of us going up through this and keep moving is probably higher. So I would look at this. I like this. I don't like that this is going down. I don't like that my volume is dropping. So what I could do to try to get a little more color on what's going on is I could use relative volume. And that's not good either. So I need to see volume. I need to see something like this 2 or 3 times my volume before I step into it. And I just don't have that right now. So I would hold off until I saw volume, but I like the chart on it. Square and then Ford. Well, the thing with Square, I was talking about this earlier with somebody. You see how you're in this range? Okay, so you have a channel here. We get rid of these indicators for a moment. So you have this range right here. And you're going right to this lower red breakdown, which we broke down from, right? You can see that we tried to rally and then reversed, and that was it. And then we just had nasty action. So when you see this, you just want to be out of the way. Now, what is this telling you? It's telling you that it's time to go. You don't want to be in this unless we're going to get through that level. So I'd be really cautious buying it up here. Usually stocks like this that are in a rising channel, they don't end well. So you're going to have to see if it can get through this level. 241.70 is really what you need to watch on there. Ford, I did a trade on Ford and it didn't work. I just caveat, I still have a position in it. I'm going to hold a position in this unless it breaks this 1446 level. I like the trade, but it's just very clear to me that it's most likely I'm going to get stopped out of it. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days of red. I thought when they had that good news about all their sales that we would have seen it in reservations go through the roof. But that didn't happen. And so now we just have all this selling. So if I break that level, I just have to get out and move on. But I do like the trade. If you look at it on a monthly basis, right? And the month's not over, so I don't really care about this. I'll care about it when the month's over. But if you look at this on a monthly basis, let me bring this down and bring this over. I broke a 21-year downward secular move. I could come down, sure, and test this to $10, but chances are that over time, this is going to go higher. But I think if it breaks 1446, you have to get out of the way. John, I use TrendSpider. There's a link in the descriptions of my videos. It won't be in this one because I won't put it in. But I use TrendSpider. And if you click on the link, it'll give you 7 days. You can reach out to me on email too if you can't find the link. artetrading.com or .net rather. .com was taken by somebody for some reason. ZM, let's do ZM. So I should throw the link in there on the description for people so they can see them. So here we go. And let's clone this. So this is your monthly. And I know the month's not over yet, but look where you're at. Okay. So this is one that, and I don't know if, again, I don't know, who's in here from the letter or not from the newsletter, but here's what I liked about this trade. Okay. You were stuck on this 347 for some time. And then when you broke out, it was a nice, solid breakout, right? But then you actually consolidated and formed a wedge. Look, you formed this wedge down. And then what happened as soon as you broke out of that wedge? That was it. As soon as you broke out of that wedge, that was it. Now, I'm not crazy about that action, but because I'm near the 200 day, but that still gets me to the 200 day before I really have to worry. And that's 390. So that's a good 10% move on it before I have to concern myself. And I'd like to see it get above there. Before it gets above there, I'm just not going to, go ultra heavy, but I do like the move. And I think it'll work. I really do think this can work. This 2150 reversal is beautiful. Breaking this downward trend line. Look at this trend line here. Right here. You can get rid of this. See that? So when you break these, it doesn't mean that you're going to go up right away, but it does mean that you're probably done going down unless you cross back into them. Usually you base for a little bit, but this thing was so sold down from up here that we're just going to rally. And I think this here, you can move this out of the way, but you can see how we're setting up. And if I get through that level, this is really interesting. And it's one of the reasons why I like this trade. If you get through that level, you could really rally. So let me just overlay this so you can understand this a little bit better. So once you're through this, you have this red bar. And if you go and look, right, see this little area right here, like this was your shelf and now you're hitting in this. Getting through this and getting up into here, you can start working all this off. And then as that happens, you can see how it gets slower, like it slants. You get through all that, this could really run. So I think it has massive long-term potential. And I thought it was worth the risk down here with the volume that came in. So I like it. So Docu, thank you. And thank you for the reminder. Please keep throwing out reminders. So let me just pull this back here. I'll leave in the volume profile over here. You can see once you got through all this and there's no volume up here, what happens, right? That's when it really starts to move. I mean, look, this is a beautiful move on huge volume. It's very difficult to not expect some kind of pullback now. So you could pull back to 250 and it wouldn't do anything to you, right? I mean, it would be annoying if you were in this, but it doesn't really change the trade. What you need to look at with this is you have to kind of assess that whole range, right? So let's get rid of this very quickly. Oh, let me just do it this way. It's so much easier. And we'll click on this. So you really have to deal with this range. I mean, that's what you have, right? So when you have a range like this, let's look at the volume. The volume's accelerating to the upside. His huge break, earnings just kept on going. I believe it was earnings, right? Yep, earnings event. So now what do we do? Right? Now you have this level. Now what do we do? You have to obviously watch to see if you break this, but you're going to need more than that to determine if this is something that you need to be in, because it's been doing this for some time. So you can look at this on a weekly basis and get a better understanding of what's going on. So let's open this up on a weekly and just look at this range and see what this is telling us. Let's see if we can get some understanding of, do we think that this continues? Do we think it doesn't continue? If it does continue, where do we go to? Well, if this continues, and sometimes we're breaking out of this range and sometimes we're not, and these wicks make it, there's so many of them, makes it harder, but you're really heading to that 305 level, in my opinion. So if you break through that level, you're probably hitting the 305. So you have about another 8 to 10% left in that trade. That's how I view it. But you must break that level. If you don't break that level, there's no getting in there. So who bought courses? Who ripped them off? Oh, Tyler, I don't even sell courses. So, all right. So then you're blocked. Okay. So So I made a new friend. I guess that's a good thing, right? I guess it means I'm getting popular. It's so funny. I bought his courses. Um, LABU, positive divergence. I like the LABU. Let me just move this one over. I like the caps better. And let's remove this text. So see this volume and how this volume's increasing, and I'm doing the weekly right now. But you still have this level, right? We still have this 81 level in this red bar. And every time we try to get up there, the only good thing about it is we're above the 200 week. So I do like that we're above the 200 week. And let's see what happens with it. But overall, I really like it. We're just going to have to see what happens. Let's go to this on the daily. See, here's the issue that you're dealing with. And I alluded to this a little bit, but if the S&P keeps going down and if the IWM keeps going down, the Qs are going to follow. It doesn't work where only one market goes up. Eventually they play catch up. Now the Qs are the strongest relative strength wise, and I can explain why if people want to get into it. But eventually they're going to come in. So it makes it hard to get involved in these until you see the move. Like this LABU move, I thought we would have gotten more out of this. See this IBB move, right? We all remember why this happened, right? That huge IBB move was this, right? When this ran up. Okay, so, and now what happened? So that's an issue, right? It's a definitive issue, and we have to watch that. So, I don't know. I'm not, I gotta be honest. I'm not feeling this trade because I'm looking at the underlying market and I'm watching the volume completely crater. So, which it's that time of year anyway, but I would really watch this on the daily. If I had to give you positive developments that I see this breakout bar and this huge volume, we have not broken and touched that. See how we're rejecting the 50-day on the sell side, right? Every time we hit the 50-day, that wick, right? And now the wick's getting tighter and how we're running up and how they're crossing. So that's definitely something to look at. And I would watch this, but I'm not a huge jump in on this just yet. There's some other levels out there that would be concerning. I have this, there's a trend line up here. You can see this one is probably the same trajectory. Darn looks close to it. It's not the same trajectory. So that's really here. Let's get rid of this one so we don't cloud the mind, and let's get rid of these indicators. So you could argue that getting above 76.29 and you should test 81.25. You can make that, like, that could happen. But to see this huge move that I keep waiting for in this space, you're going to need much more than this, right? You're going to have to get above this in order to get there. For you to have a real reversal on this, you have to get above this level. So, but I do like the trade. So, let's see this. The ENPH. Let's do ENPH. So somebody that nailed this, and it wasn't me. And they picked it off at 146.76, and it's just a beautiful trade. Rallied up, failed the first time. And remember this. Just remember, just because you're in this and it rallies through and it fails the first time does not mean that you don't go back to the trade. You always go back to the trade if you think it's going to work. And then so most of the time, think of it as a trap, right? What happens to the first mouse? They get hit with the trap, and then the cheese is just sitting there, and then the second mouse comes in and gets it, right? First mouse comes down, second mouse. So if you think about it like that, it makes sense. You'd just be like, damn it, I got the trap. And then this person got the cheese. And that's exactly what happened here. But with that said, it's just a way of thinking of why you would re-enter a trade. But see how you're sitting at this level? I see no reason that you're going to stop here. I think you're going to get to this 177. I think that's pretty clear that that's where you're heading, 176.55. I mean, look at this going across. I think you're in excellent shape here. So I think it'll keep going. I really do. Yeah, I agree, Jordo. I agree with that. Is stocks toast? You know, I mean, as far as the trade that I had on, yeah. As far as waiting for this trade, yeah. I mean, look, we tried this a couple times. We were in this here and we got out and waited. You know, when you keep hitting this level, very clearly we are respecting this level on the socks. Okay. And let me get rid of this. This is the SOXL. And sometimes I'll look at these because they'll accentuate the move faster than the actual index itself. And this is setting up to really break down. So just hope this is a shakeout is all I'm hoping. This is a shakeout and then we move forward. But I keep respecting this line. And until I really break that line, and I thought we did, I thought we were going to do it and close above it right here. And I actually put a trade on here and I was wrong. And it happens, but I didn't want it to break through and then run and then it tried again and failed. So it's very clear that what we're respecting is this trend line. So until we break that trend line, you know, you can bounce around and possibly trade it from here to here for a couple points. But other than that, yeah, until you break through that level, you have an issue. And what's interesting is the issue is becoming more in the equipment makers, such as, you know, AMAT, right? I mean, that is definitely more of an issue. Lam Research, that's more of an issue below the 50-day, right? But if you look at like, and this is what was so interesting, this AMD didn't have a bad day. I mean, AMD actually closed higher than the previous day on a negative SOX day. Like it's just crazy. So you're seeing a divergence in some of the big chip makers. Like look at the move that this, even though we've reversed here, look at the move we've had as the SOX went down. So certain names are definitely showing. Yeah, of course, John, anytime. So pins and snap, let's do it. So let's do pins. Pins is a trade we've been in since 69 3/4. Let me just pull that down, but let's go through this. So this is hard to put on now. And the reason is because you're halfway through the gap already. You're already halfway through this, right? So if you're halfway through it, it gets very difficult to try to get into this. I would tell you to hold off on this until we push and get through that 78.63 level. So I would wait. I would wait on this. Now the curve of these lines and how this one's pointing up leads me to believe that we could break this, but we really need to see massive volume and a push for that to happen. Snap, I like. It's on the short list, and I have way too much going on these charts. So let's just get rid of everything. Everybody remember this is Snap, and let's just start over. Sometimes it's just better with a cleaner slate. And let's drill into this and really see what's going on. So the first thing you'll notice is just the line, right? So the very first thing you'll see is just the 64 level and how we keep rejecting around this level. And it's not exact. It's actually a little lower. But look, even if I go here and pull this across to 64, let's just get up a little bit and then stop right there. There you go. So if you can even see over here, right? Then you break it and then you run here, here, here. This is your level. You have to get above that. And pins is above it. This is not. But I think that this can do it. I think this has the possibility to do it. Sure, absolutely. So, and then here, look. I mean, you're sitting right on it, right? If you broke this, you have to get out of the way. If you break this, it's going to be, this will be nasty. But once I get through this, it has my attention. And this is the kind of stock that I think can do well in this week, actually, because it's very specific. It's very company specific. It's not going to be tied to everything. You're welcome, John, anytime. So let's do, yep. Bueller. It's funny. No, I know you're roughly the same age as me. NVCR, or maybe that's what the kids are saying this day as well, but I love that. NVCR. So NVCR, look at how you're reversing right here, right? You broke out and you reversed here the one time. Does this pattern look similar? Okay, so what I would be using if I was long this, and I would not want to be long this right now because essentially this is a bull or a bearish engulfing, right? The bodies aren't encompassed, but if you were just to look at a very simple chart, this bar is going to encompass this one at the top of the channel, right? I've broken out through here and then I failed again. That is really a double top forming. So what I would say is I would be really cautious, and you could actually use this as your stop. Breaking this wedge line could be your stop, but I definitely would not be a buyer of that. So that's NVCR. And then where was the other one, Bueller? MDB. So let's take a look at that. That looks like a monster, right? That looks amazing. So that's the kind of move that you want to see. It was, I mean, it didn't even get affected by what we saw the other day in the market. So I like this move a lot. And I like how tight it is. And I like how you're seeing the volume increase. For me, I couldn't touch it now until I got above 397. Yeah, I got to get above this level for me to get in it. But you have an enormous base here too, right? So in that base starts really back here, but you have a huge base on this, and this could really move. And you have a really nice channel up here too on this one. I mean, really nice channel. Look at this. So, I mean, by the time you got up to this level, you're going to be over here. You'll be closer to 500. This could be a big mover. There could be 20, 25% in that fairly quickly. I like that. No, thank you. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's one big seller. That's a good question. Is it one big seller? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. I can get you an estimation of it, and we can drill into that. But that's a really good question. It's always helpful to see who's selling at the end of the day. Yeah. I mean, that is somebody dumping stock that doesn't want you to know that they're dumping stock. And that's why they did it at the end of the day. And that's nasty. And that's telling you that they want out. And that's why they did it at the end of the day, because they don't want you to see the volume during the day. So that's a total institutional move. Just get me out any price, market on close, hit the bid. And that's what they did. So I would stay out of the way of that. You're welcome, Holt. So let's see. Dow Jones. Yeah, I could do the Dow Jones, Tristan. And let's do CLSK. So CLSK, I mean, maybe it's bottomed, but if you're not in this, if you're in this, you can give me some color and I can kind of try to walk you through it. But if you're not in this, I would avoid this. This is your first level you have to get through. We rallied. I mean, you can see why I'm drawing the line here, right? You can see why the line's there. Okay. We got to it here. We failed. Look at this. Right? Look at that. What is a wick? A wick's price rejection, slam through it. Until I got above this, you really can't look at this. You just can't. And let's go here. Hold on. Oh, you know what? I might be on a shorter time frame chart. I apologize. There you go. Here we are. So I apologize for that. I didn't notice that at first. Let's start over. Completely start over. Hold on. Let's remove all annotations. Well, I'll remember this is CLSK. So, I mean, you're still in this downward trend, but you're sitting right on it. I mean, you're sitting right on it. So let's throw in these indicators. So the 21 pointing up is good. The 200 there and the 50 is good. This is actually setting up to base. And you've undercut this here. Let's get rid of these for a moment. And look how this is your low, right? So you've undercut that low, and now you're above this part. You really need to get above this for confirmation that this bottom is in. You have to get above this on the right-hand side. So for confirmation on a double bottom, first the double bottom has to undercut the previous bottom, right? That's the first thing. Second thing is, for confirmation that the double bottom is in, you must take over a peak on the left-hand side of a chart. So you have to get up to that level. Now, I know you don't want to wait for that, and that's why people will pay the they'll play the wedge. But just keep that in mind. So now you have these indicators laid, and they look good, right? But when you have something like this that's been basing, this is a good example of when to use RSI, because you're basing. Even though you're in a downward trend, you're still basing. So let's click on the RSI and see if that can tell us anything. And let's get rid of these indicators so that we can look clearly at this. So what is this telling us, right? So this is telling us what? Okay, so here's my trajectory since this peak. Here's my trajectory now. So this is higher than this. This is here. So the chances of this breaking out and following through are better, right? It has a higher degree of probability of getting up to here. So this could work. It's telling you that this has a better chance of working. Oops, let's get rid of that. Let's close off of this, and we'll go from there. So I would look for this to break this level before I get into it, and look for it to head to that and look for it to head to that 23 level. But I like that. So I don't think it's an end of day rebalancing. It was right at the end of the day. I don't think it's a rebalancing. I think it's somebody getting the heck out of Dodge. So I think it's somebody saying, I've had enough. I want out. That's my thought on it. So I mean, they came out and they issued a report on this, right? And it's a crap report, but everybody else sell on it. Meanwhile, the people that issued the report were probably short up here and then issue it. And then they cover into the people that sell it. So, I mean, it's really scummy. But it's business, and that's what they do. So what do we do with this trade? Well, look how the 21 days being respected, right? We're not breaking that 21 day here. You see that? So you really are going to have to clear over that before you even think of buying this. And you're going to have to wait for this 50-day to catch up, which it's not doing. So there are your levels, and that's what you're going to have to watch. I actually like this down here, but there's nothing technical about it that would say that you need to be buying this. But I like it down here at this level much more than when it was up here. Up here at 64.10, it just couldn't get through. Maybe this sets up here, maybe going in the football season, but right now, there's just no hurry. There really is just no hurry. I'm kind of shocked at how low this is volume-wise and how well it's hanging in there. So we are riding that 50-day on this. Look at this. Right? Let's drill into it, and we can get rid of this line. Look at that 50-day and how it's respecting it. That's institutions buying it. They're buying that name. Okay, whenever you see the 50-day being respected like that and not closing there, that's institutional buying. And now we're above the 21-day and staying above it, and the 50 crossed the 21-day. You're going to attack this again, and you're going to give it another shot. So you're in a trading range here, and you should be able to see that short-term trading range, right? It's actually set up as kind of like a bull flag almost, right? Here's your flagpole, and then you're here. And these are your ranges. Right here, right? And right here. Now, what you want to see, well, you're really right here. Now, what you want to see is you want to see retest this and get up to here and try again. It's got to get through the 200-day. The volume is just anemic, but maybe the selling's done. And I really only need to focus on this area on this chart. So let's see. I've got a short position in the Dow Jones. I could see, what do you do? You're short this, S Dow. What's the other one? No, that's not it. I got to remember what the heck that is. I mean, could this work? Yeah, it could work. This could work. This could totally work, this trade. So the volume that's kicking in, the way it's going, the conversion of these lines, yeah, this could absolutely work. I mean, look, these are the diamonds. Like I just don't cover it because it's 30 stocks. but I broke a major trend line 2, 3 days ago, and these are rolling. And these stocks that are in here look, I mean, they look awful. You know, this might be done. This might be setting up for a bounce. And you could bounce on that move on the Dow, just FYI. But you see how you're breaking that? But it doesn't matter that you're breaking it because you got to bounce back into it. And look how you've just been riding it down and it's getting wider. So that leads you to believe that this could continue. If I overlay that, the bands on the Dow, I was doing this earlier, like it's very rare that you bounce out of an index. You know, it's just, I mean, here, like you can see when it happens. Right here, a little bit here. And then, of course, during the pandemic, we ran it the whole way down. But this is very rare that you see this. It usually respects them. So when you're here, you usually will snap back. This is not really where I would want to be short. I'd want to be short on the break of this level, right? So I'd want to be short up here and then down, then into this. Shorting this when you're here, it's somewhat risky. So you can overlook it and try to understand the risk and look at your RSI and look at your indicator, right? And then that can tell you what the probability of this bouncing is. So let's pull this up for a minute because this is an interesting lesson. I mean, the RSI is going straight down, but you're at 28. So anything under 30, you're just waiting to bounce. Okay, so this is just waiting to bounce, whether it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whether it drops another 500 points before then, I can't answer that. I can just tell you that when you're down here, you need to be careful because it can bounce fast. But right now, the trade looks like it's going to work, and just keep watching these levels and just keep moving your stop down. But great trade. So Dow going down doesn't really affect that, Bo. I mean, to me, it doesn't. This is really what's driving. This will drive us a little bit more. Hold on. Let's get rid of the bands. And let's get rid of the RSI. This will drive us way more, in my opinion. And the reason is because this is the XLK, which is the Semiconductor Technology Index. 40% of this index is Apple and Microsoft. One's 21%, one's 20, something like that. They're over 40%. But notice how we hit that level and just rejected. So you just need to watch it and be really careful with it. So let's just keep going. BBIG are saying that Doom is coming. I don't know if Doom is coming. I mean, my thought is that we could sell off. Usually when everybody thinks we're going to sell off, we don't. I mean, the majority of people and the majority of people that say stuff like on FinTwit, they say both things. And then whatever happens, they just say, see, I told you. So just be careful. It's best to learn how to look at this yourself and then go from there. BBIG, I mean, to me, it's not something I would play with. I'd be concerned that my volume went away on this, and I wouldn't even consider touching it until I did a couple things. I don't really like these smaller names. People know this, but look at that level. I mean, it's very clear that just avoid it until it at least breaks this and stays above it and gets above 407. So 10. Yeah, 10's toast, and we can do net. I mean, 10 is just, it absolutely broke down the other day. It's very clear. It was something we were playing with. There's your daily. There's no need to be in this as soon as it broke that level, right? There's just no reason any longer to stay in this trade. So just, when you break like that, could you bounce? Absolutely. Could you stay in here? Sure. Right? You could stay in this to 19 and 3/8. I mean, it could get to that 34 level and stop. You'd still be in this weird flat position. But I don't know. When you break like this, to me, you're going to the 21 day, which gets me to that 18 and 3/4. Could it bounce back up and rally? Yes. But it pulled a perfect move the other day, like just absolutely perfect. And what it did was, see this level? 245, got above it, lured people in, right? Then it got above that wick again, and that was me. And I like that kind of trade when I'm breaking above these wicks, and it lured me in, and then I closed here. So that's not really what I want to be in. Sure, of course, Samara. So you just watch that trade and be really careful. Yes, that can get a lot worse. So Can I comment on BA, on reversal, and Netflix? Sure. So I don't see, I mean, if you're looking at the reversal by meaning it going down, I mean, that's pretty clear that we're in a double top, right? By looking at that. First off, notice this on this chart. Notice how the volume is just going away as the stock tries to go up. Okay. So that's not something that you're going to want to see. Okay. That's not really where you want to be. So I would be very cautious if you were looking to try to reverse this to get into it. It didn't respect the 50-day. Look, if the Dow goes down, this is going with it. I mean, it's pretty clear. But these two humps would scare me. And it's not something that I would want to stay in. If I was in this and I was concerned and I wanted to ride it, breaking that would be my last stand. Because if I break this, I'm going to the 200-day, and I don't know how long you want to stay in this, but this just is not shaping up to run. I mean, it's not shaping up to be a good mover. Netflix, Netflix has just gotten to the point of let's get rid of all this stuff. Haven't looked at this one for a while. Everyone will remember this is Netflix. Look, you gap down after earnings, right? That was an earnings event. Yep. And you're heading into another earnings event soon, it looks like, right? But to me, this is broken. I mean, here's your 200-day crossing your 50. I mean, there's a reason that this cross right here is called a death cross. There's a reason that we call them that. It's not what you want to see. See how it starts getting to the 50 now and keeps rejecting, and the wicks don't even want to touch it. So institutions are selling this. And there's something else going on here that you need to be aware of. And I'm going to get rid of this and just give everybody a quick lesson on something. So see how you break here, and then you break here again, and then you do it here, and then you're doing it here. But in particular, this one in particular, I'm going to focus on for a minute, right? Just this bar right here. Okay. And I'm going to move this over. So when you break like this, like you've broken here and broken here, you form what's called an island. Okay. And then when you form these islands and you break down like this, you're done. They're usually significant top moves. And that's what you have here. So if you look at this, right, that's telling you that we're done for a long time. Okay. That's the best way that I can explain it. Let me see if that's all they're going to give me on a daily. Let's go to a weekly. So, I mean, you can see how, look at this, right? This level, you tried to break it that 1 week and you couldn't do it. Like, it's telling you that it's done. And on the weekly, look at this. So 479. I mean, you break 479, you're done. I would not go near this. I'd be very cautious, pardon me, of this. So, yeah, let's look at ozone. So this is one we were in before. Let's remove all the text. So this is the weekly. I was wondering why it was so short. There we go. Getting a little bonkers looking at so many charts today. Here we go. Okay. So peak, running right to that resistance level again, right? And now we're stopped. And what happened on Friday? See, this is the thing you have to be careful about in this market right now. You're seeing this more and more, right? What we're seeing is what's run right to this level, and then we reject. And we're seeing it over and over again. You're seeing this pattern over and over again. So you just really need to watch it. I would not be running into that. Air travel as a major, that's interesting. Hundreds of flights canceled the weekend. Yeah, that's not great. I mean, I know people are not in a big hurry to get back to work for health reasons or other reasons. But I know that's not great. Look, I mean, you just can't get through these levels. So you're really going to have to watch them, right? I mean, that just happens to coincide with your 50-day. That's not really where you want to be a buyer. You want confirmation before you buy that, especially in this kind of market. So yeah, of course, Root. So let's just keep going. BIGC. Oh, that's a name I haven't looked at in a while. So all these levels are still in here and they're still not breaking any of them. I would just watch this. I mean, I would not be a big buyer of this. You just see the 64 level. You're just sitting right on that support level. I would want to start seeing higher highs. You're not really seeing that. I mean, your 200s up here and pointing down. Maybe if you get above that 200 day, but in between this, there is so much stuff. This would be a great one to look at this with. Hold on. This is a great one to use volume by price. So yeah, I mean, and that's what I thought. Like, look, I mean, there's your point of control, right? And you're trying to flip it and now you're into this. So maybe you have a shot at it, right? See how your point of control is right here? That's the purple line. And then your VWAP's up here. So, I mean, you have a little gap here. So maybe you can get up to 66, but there's just so many different points like the 68.40. And then you have another volume shelf up here. You really need to get through the 68.40 level and then kind of go from there. So I wouldn't be trying to chase this for 3 or 4 points. I hope that's helpful. So, I don't know where that is. Let's just keep going. STEM and gray. So, yeah, I mean, people love this name. I'll leave this in right now so because it's helpful. You could see right where your point of control is on this and your volume, you're over it. Get through this level, 35.83, and you could take a look at it. Here's what I like about it. Look at this volume. That volume's huge, right? That's what you want to see. I bet if we look at relative volume, that's through the roof. Nah, it's not crazy. Yeah, it's 4x. 4 times, right? Relative volume, right? You're right here. So you're 4 times relative volume. That's great. That's good stuff. I like that. I can see that. Hey, guy. So just see if you pop through that 35.83 before you get involved in it. So let's just keep going. UPST. Hi, Sandy. So, all right. This is one I've been playing around with, and I kind of like how we're hanging above this point of control, but you're really wedged in here, right? I'm going to get rid of all this stuff. Let's do this. Let's get rid of all the indicators for a moment and just look at price. So this one really trades just very simple, right? It's a really simple one to trade. You almost have to do the antithesis of what the trade is doing. So, and again, I always say this, and it is true. Stocks have personalities, and it's not the stocks that have the personalities. It's the people that are trading them, right? Everyone has certain groups that are trading those names. But if you look at what's going on here, okay, you need to get above this 128.83 level, and you're having a hell of a time doing it. So you really got to watch this and shoot for that 134.82 level, and then kind of go from there. So I would just watch it. I'm not in a big hurry there to jump into that one, noob. I'm really not. Hey, guy. All right, so let's see. Yep, you're welcome, Jeremy. What do I think of BABA? Let's go through BABA. I tend to avoid BABA for fundamental reasons, but let's just see what's happening here. So, I mean, this has just been in a massive downtrend, right? So you have this massive yearly downtrend. I can get rid of this. Let's get rid of all the horizontal lines for a moment. I mean, throw in all the indicators. I mean, there is nothing here. Well, let's clean some of this stuff up. I'll get rid of this and this. Cancel. And we'll close this up and we'll click it here. So you can see here, you're really trying to get above the 21 day and you're even fighting that now, right? And the 50 day, just respecting it the whole way down. Now you have this little pattern, and let's zoom in on this pattern so we can understand it a little bit better. Say it. Like I don't see any reason to go near this. And the fact that I didn't even undercut the low leads me to believe that I'm probably going lower. So I would watch this, and this would not be something that I would be a huge buyer of. I would just sit and watch and wait. I would not be jumping into this. I mean, look, you breaking this level right here is breaking this left head, right. Like, look, I mean, it's textbook, right? Here's your left shoulder. Here's your head. Here's your right shoulder. Here's your major support line. If I break the major support line, the count is this down, right? Which means that this thing's going to get absolutely decimated, and it's setting up to be decimated. I mean, it really is. Just this is setting up for a major move down. Long term, I think it grinds down, but breaking this, and you could just see, you could see this back into the ones. So I would stay away from that. Gray, I think you asked me that already, Stefan, and I missed it. I apologize. So yeah, I mean, you're in that trade zone that we've been looking at, right? Let's just focus on what's going on here, because this is really all that matters, not what's above it right now. Right. So we can just focus on that as the chart, right? I mean, that's really where we're at. This is really the action that we have right here. Let's throw this up there. You have this wick and this wick, right? And you're not above either of them. You tried to break out, you opened, and if you look at this bar, what happened? You opened, you tried to close over 542, you couldn't do it. You came back down and you broke another support line. That's about as nasty as you can get, right? For an inside day, breaking through two minor support levels. So you're really going to have to watch the action. Your absolute drop dead, if you're in this to be out, has to be that point right there, 478. You break that, you got to go. You have to get out. And until I base and take out a higher high like this now, you really can't get in it. So I would just avoid that, Stefan, until it does that. I do think, I'll do Tesla, but I do think TAN, like here, look, I do think that these are on a comeback. I do think that. I've been watching this, and I think I really liked Friday's action on them. I just, I'm not really ready to pull the trigger and say that we're it's risk on for them yet until I get above this 200 day. But yeah, this 21 pointing up, like here, look at that 21. Like when you have a trajectory that starts going like that, you need to pay attention, and it has my attention, and I'm interested in solars. But you really just need to watch this, and you need to get above this level before you get all excited and giddy with all these solar names, because a lot of them have had a decent move already. I mean, ENPH has had a decent move. Run had a decent move. It's why I wasn't too crazy buying it the other day. I like the volume that's coming in. Obviously, relative volume's off the chain with this, but that's going to get you to 57. I mean, if that's what you're looking for, if you're looking for 3-4 points, yeah, there's a trade here. I mean, there's a trade right here. Look. I mean, this is where we closed right here, right? 57, 52 and 3/4. This is where we closed here, right? 52.71. I mean, get through the higher high, 52.81, and you have a trade, and that trades right to that level, 57, right? That's really where you're going to. And there really will be no reason, if you get above this, that you're not going to peg probably to that level. You have a gap right here, right? So, I mean, even if you overlay this with volume price, you probably see that gap in there. Yeah. I mean, there's your gap. You can see it, right? So there's really no reason that it's not going to push to that level. So I do like those names. I do like solar names. So let's look at Tesla. So we just added this to the newsletter at 6:20. So let's just go through this. I like this here. I wasn't a fan earlier in the week. Later in the week, it did what I needed it to do. You are closing above the 200 day. We are moving higher, and they are stepping you up. So this is where the sellers were, and as they move up right against this line, I like trades where I have this wedge line going up and pushing me against the resistance. If you knock on a door long enough, eventually it'll open. So I do think that you can get right to this 50 day. Climbing this bar is really what you have to do. And I think you can get to that 646 fairly quickly. I actually think you're going a little higher. I think you're going to fill in this gap right here. But first we have to get through this, obviously. And I think you're setting up for it. And I think that you set up for it on, hold on. I think you set up for it here. So I think that you can continue to go higher. I really do. So just consider that. I think that you're setting up here for a bigger move. So NIL. Yeah, you're welcome, Stefan. All right, I'm going to have to wrap this up. Let's just do a couple more real quick. So NIO, like I like this. I like the move here and where you're at on the volume shelf, but you really have to follow through. And I need more volume. I don't like when I see my red volume is encapsulating my green volume. It makes me nervous. It means that they're selling into the rips, right? And they're trying to do it sneaky. So that concerns me. Breaking through 4650 is a big deal. Staying above 4650 on Friday is a big deal. Okay. It's been a long time since I started clearing higher highs, and I'm above a lot of key levels here. A lot, right? I'm above this entire volume shelf. I'm above the point of control. I'm above volume price VWAP. I'm above my support, my resistance line. I mean, it's telling you that 50 is realistic and that could happen. So just consider that. That is a possibility. That could happen. And then UPWK. Yeah, I mean, I'm just not a fan. I mean, you're stuck in you're stuck in this range right here. We actually go back to here. You're really having trouble with that level, that 52 level. So until I get through that, I just wouldn't be that interested in it. And the volume's kind of fallen off, and the bigger volume is like, if you look at the volume and the bigger volume's always red, you just want to be aware of that. And I just don't like this action. All these wicks, it's all just price rejection and people just not really paying attention to it. And we're just basing and going sideways. So this could go for some time sideways like that. I don't see anything that leads me to believe that we're going to sell down, but, oh, you're welcome, Bo. So Twillo, I thought maybe we did Twillo already. I like Twillo. I do. I like it. I just think we have to watch that 347.49 level, Emily. See how we're sitting right on it? 347.49. You're sitting right there. You have to watch that level. But overall, I do like it. Yeah, absolutely, Guy. So LSPD, and then it's a wrap. I see what you like about this. I mean, this is nice. This is really nice. Wow. Yeah, I like this a lot. I like this enormous base and how it's breaking out. I had this on the radar and I haven't been watching it. That 82 is huge. 82.50. You get through that, this is $100 stock. Look at that base here. We can look at it better here. This is a great idea. You know what? I'm going to have to pull this down to here, and you have a range right here. It's going to be really hard to draw on the weekly because I don't have a ton of data, but we're just going to do it anyway. Okay. So that's your trajectory. So this has massive potential, massive. So I'm glad you brought this to my attention. It's definitely going to be on my radar. See how this volume is increasing the whole time? Yeah, this could be huge. I mean, this could be a really big winner. So, and I like that you have this, like, look at this close. I have an all-time weekly close in a really rough market. I think I know what space this is in too. Yeah, I mean, you have a ton of room here, man. You have a ton of room. This is a great idea. So, yeah, it's just really a great idea, Melvin. Really good idea. So, and let me just run through them. All right, I'll do leads. You're welcome, Emily, anytime. Let's do leads, and I'll do these last two, and then I got to go. You know, I know so many people playing this name. I don't see it. I don't get it. Wick, avoid. Just avoid. Maybe we curl and we run. Maybe we break this level. I just don't have any interest in it. Net I like, but you have to be really careful here with the market. You have to be really careful. I really like this, but look at this. When all the volume is counted up on Friday, how we encapsulated that volume, just be careful up here. It's nothing for this stock to come back down and test. It does it all the time. And that's it. And then TTD, and then we're done. You filled your gap, right? I mean, you filled your gap. Trade's over. It's a great trade, but it's over. See how you're rejecting that level? TTD. So you just keep rejecting that. So you just got to watch that. So your trade was down here and then you did that. But so, all right, that's it. All right, everyone, have a great evening.